those from poor and disadvantaged groups to fair, effective, and affordable mechanisms to protect their rights. Okay, so there's rights and then there's access to justice. Justice is about when you have an issue and you want somebody to make it right. And sometimes women find it very difficult when they have an issue to approach the systems of justice that we have, like the courts or the traditional courts or mediation and things like that. And we say women need access to justice too, because women have many troubles. Unfortunately, women and girls, to protect their rights, control of abuse of power against them, and for resolution of conflicts that involve them, particularly interpersonal, family, and communal conflicts. Okay, so that is what access to justice is about. This includes the ability of women to seek and obtain a fair and just remedy through formal and informal justice systems. So women should have rights because women are human, and we can talk about many, like right to education, right to own a property, yes, right to own a property, right to education, right to life, right to freedom from violence. All of these too, women should have. And then there's access to justice, that if my right is abused, somebody must do something so it becomes right. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Was there a slide before this one, or that's the first slide? It's the first one. Okay, so look at some of the issues. Can we go together? We start from land rights. Etc. So I didn't even capture all of it too. All of these are huge issues, areas of issues that affect women directly. We still are in a situation where in some parts of the country, women can't own property by themselves, or they can't even have access to their own family property, a family you belong to. If you need access to the property, somebody has to give you permission. Usually it is the ebusuapeni or somebody that is above you, even still in this country. Do you understand me? And then there are issues around when your husband dies. Some people will come to the house and sack you and all the children. They say it is our brother, and you go away. They'll lock the doors and the wardrobe, take the keys, and it's still happening, even though there are laws about it. At a point, there were no laws about it. Okay? But as changes came, even though there are laws still, access to education we've talked about, access to healthcare is a big one. We still have very high mortality of maternal mortality in this country. Women go to give birth, something they do by nature and by social function, and they die. And sometimes you find it is some small thing that made them die, because there are issues around there. Child maintenance and care is a big one. If you go to Waju, now Dofsu, you go to social welfare, a lot of the cases there, children who are not being maintained, especially by their fathers, sometimes by their mothers too, but most of the time. And the children are left on the shoulders of the mother to carry, and sometimes when they even go to court, it's so difficult to get the money that they need. Marriage, divorce. Many, as for marriage, plenty issues. Okay, his marriage is supposed to be a good thing. God created it for us, but human beings, we are messy. So sometimes marriages become messy, and in it you have issues. Sometimes there are legal issues. Then you see domestic violence coming in. This is the area where I work in a lot. I've worked in for the last 25 years. Where you see, when you hear gender-based violence, what are some of the things that come to mind? Any acts, some of the acts, like which acts? Yes. Abuse. Yes. Yes. Anybody else? Verbal abuse. What did you say?
Rape. Rape.
Rape is a big one when it comes to gender-based violence. Defilement. Being just battering. Okay, people who are harmed by their spouses or their partners. So many cases in this country. They are in the thousands every year. Okay, so those are issues. Sexual harassment, whether it's in school. I know this is not a session for it, but if I asked, I'm sure we'll find some cases. Okay, this is a big one at work. You go, you are looking for a job. Some boss tells you, money in a hand, back in the ground. You have to, before, meet me under the gas light. These days is where people meet me under the disco light. No, we went to disco. You people, you go to what? Club. And yes, if you don't come to the club, you know, you ain't getting a job. Things like that. Sexual harassment is rife. It's sometimes you hear it from schools, you know, seniors to juniors or teachers to all manner of things. And women suffer a lot. Abuse, exploitation is a big one. Work-related discrimination. Because you're a woman, you won't be given the training opportunity or you won't be promoted or things like. Sometimes it is just because you are a woman. Sometimes it's because the person wants to do something for you, with you first. Okay? Harmful customary and traditional practices. Who can give me examples? Thank you. Female genital mutilation is one. It's still going on in this country. We passed the law years ago, but it's still going on in this country. What other practices? Child marriages and child betrothals, which people are beginning to say it's not an issue. It is against the law. Whether they go up or they come down, it is against the law. Because if I can't be married, how can I be betrothed? Doesn't make sense. And yes, and why is it a problem for us? Because it affects the girl child's education, health, development, survival. How can you be made an adult at once when you are not ready? These are some of the issues. Women in politics and public leadership. What are some of the issues there? Women in politics. Yes, abuse, harassment. Everybody needs to get money to run the campaign. It becomes a problem. Because if you go asking for money, problem. And sometimes some women are married and there was one interesting case I heard. Her husband always wanted to eat fresh food every day. Wife has to cook fresh food. So when she wanted to become an MP, she still had to continue to cook fresh food. Can you imagine running a campaign and being asked to? Yes. It's not every marriage that is bad. I'm not saying that. Do you understand? But yeah, sometimes you have these things. All manner of things. Women in the environment, when we don't have gas. And gas is so expensive. And women do the cooking. They have to go and carry the firewood and cut down the trees that are supposed to protect the environment. There are many issues in there. Women in culture and religion, that's another place. Plenty churches. How many women do you see lead churches? Or even, yes, it's now that they're coming up. Okay, and so on. We can talk about intestacy is when you die without making a will and the impact it has on your spouse and your children. It could be woman or man, but then the girl child is singled out for special mention because they are not women yet, but they have so many issues they have to deal with. Right? What are some of the girl child issues? Hygiene. Yes. The pad is an essential commodity. When girls get into menses and they don't even have the toilets to change, and there are many schools without toilets, girls get into trouble. And when they don't have money to buy the pad, still some people use corn cob. Yes. And sometimes they have to even stop going to school because they can't afford a pad. And they soil themselves and they are teased and so many things. So many things. There are some rivers in this country, when it's a certain time, girls can't cross. And the school is on the other side. Yeah. Boys can cross, girls can't cross. Customary practices, plenty, widowhood rights, and all of that. So I just mentioned a few so you get a sense, okay, of what we are, the broad nature of the things we are talking about, and why you should be interested in these things. Because if you don't get interested in it, it means that you also cannot help other people. That's how me and Hillary and a few others, we've tried most of our lives to do, so that we'll be able to help other people get a chance to also have what is necessary for them to grow, to develop. We've been insulted for it. It's okay. It's a good cause. Yes. Let's go to the next. Yes, so I'm going to show you 2 brief videos of what the ARC Foundation, the organization, that some of the things cases that we have handled. Just very, very brief to give you a snapshot, because we work in the area of sexual and gender-based violence and domestic violence very strongly. I mean, that's sort of our niche in Ghana. So can I have the first video? Mariama, can you find it for me? Yes. Okay. So let's see. Can you see? Okay. Oh, sound. If you go back, maybe the sound will come. But do you get a sense of what this is about? Right? Okay. Right. Still not coming. Ooh. All right. So can you read what's on? All right. Yes. See, that's right. Okay, then let's do a reverse. Then I'll read it, okay? Oh, there was a sound behind it. I don't know what has happened. But let's go back and it's just 2 or 3 minutes. So, okay. Let's do Mariama again. It's not her real name. We have to anonymize our clients. But these are real stories. They are not made up stories. It's not an animated story. It's real. Okay, so let's see Mariama and let me read it so that. Is she coming? I'm a 16-year-old girl. A year ago, I was impregnated by my father. Yes, I am Mariama Forson's school teacher. I found out that my girl was pregnant and reported the case to DOFSU. I was very worried about Mariama. A DNA test proved that my father was indeed responsible for the baby. He denied everything in the presence of the attendees. I was devastated. It felt lonely and confusing. It was tough, like real tough, a little girl carrying a baby. But I was sheltered, fed, clothed, and many more by the ARC Foundation. It made things easier. I've been safely delivered of a baby girl. I named her Emanuela. The ARC Foundation is working on establishing contact with my maternal family to talk about how best to resettle me. I live at the shelter with other girls who have similar stories like mine. We are happy about the support that the ARC Foundation provides. I've been enrolled in school. My baby is being taken care of. I have dreams for myself and my baby. I wish to be a doctor. So that's Mariama's story. And this is a real story. One of the thousands that we have worked with over the years. Okay, one of the thousands. This is a girl who was impregnated by her own father. And that's just one of the many. Okay, and she was brought to us by the GES, through the police, and then we've kept her for quite a while because she has nowhere where to go. Her mother is dead. Father, currently, thankfully, the police got the father, did the DNA test, so it was defilement. He's in jail for 20 years now. And he said, I will never say where her mother is, her mother's people are. Mother is dead. So we have no idea. We're trying to locate the maternal family. We still have not been able to do that. So you can imagine that she's still with us. Currently, she's in senior high school. She came when she was in Form 1 or so. Which one comes before? The BEC one is which one? JSS, yes. So, yeah, before she got to JSS 1, that's when they brought her. Now she's in senior high school. And, yeah, the baby is there. We have to take care of the baby too, in many, many other ways. So let's see story 2. Let's see story 2. Woman in the rain. Okay. So while they prepare, I at least you see what the situation looks like. Okay, let's see. Why is it blank? This time there's sound and no pictures. Okay, let's go back and see whether. So what do you think was the matter with Mariama? What were the rights issues and the access to justice issues that you can identify? Anybody? Right to what had been affected? Anybody? You can lift your hand. Yes, ma'am. Right to education was affected? Yes. What other rights were broken? Do I have a hand?
Right to personal liberty.
Right to personal liberty. Hey, Mwabeng. Yes. Good. Yes, over there.
Is her reproductive right also?
Absolutely. At that age, carrying your own father's baby. So freedom from violence and all of so many rights. Right to security, a right to even good health, maternal health, all of those things. Many were compromised. Okay, so what does she need in terms of justice? What does she need? What did we do? What are some of the things that we did to respond to the justice issues? Yes. Yes, ma'am. Father was arrested by the police, and then who took him to jail? The courts, and then, yes, what else? The GS brought the case to us, so another institution responding to an access to justice matter. Yes.
Her access back to education.
Yes. So now she has access back to education. Yes. What else? Remember, yes, ma'am. She's sheltered, and at the shelter, can you imagine the things that we had to do? Yes. It's a safe space. So giving her a safe space, sheltering her, feeding her, taking her to hospital, taking her to school, what else? Antoinette, yes. Social welfare comes in, all of those things. So there are formal systems of justice, like the courts, the police, school, and so on, that fall under the formal systems of justice, the courts, the police, and the informal things that we do to make sure that this justice becomes whole. Do you see? We usually say informal systems of justice. Some of the psychosocial support that we gave actually, okay, so let's go back so they can watch it. Actually gave her a lease on life again. Okay, so let's look at this. To the love of my life. Have you thought of how our daughter and I survived after you threw us out of our house? It was a difficult moment. I was emotionally distraught and helpless. But I was blessed with help at the Ark Foundation. They took good care of our baby and me. They fed us, clothed us, sheltered us, and did many more things for us. I underwent counseling and therapy. They taught me how to make soap. When I was ready to go, they set me up in business and found me a place to stay. I'm doing better and my soap business has been a success. I can now take my daughter to school and my mental health is better. Yeah, that's it. So you see, this is also another one of the many kind of cases that we see. Women beaten, thrown out of their home, there's no support anywhere. Then sometimes they report to the police, or somebody brings them to us, or sometimes they call our hotline and then they come in. And when they come in and you see them, sometimes I ask myself, Lord, what am I going to do with this person? After many years of working here, still every case is unique, and they come sometimes with wounds, and the wounds you can't see are more than the wounds you see. And they can't sleep. They have nightmares, they have depression, anxiety, they break out with all manner of skin diseases because of the worries that are going on. And sometimes they come with their children. We've had cases where a woman has come with 7 children. Another one came with 5 children, yes. In the 5 children one, the woman was abused by the husband, but all the children too, he abused them. Some sexually, even the little one, who was 18 months when she came in. So then, this is body, soul, and spirit. So not only do we work with the police or the courts, depending on what they want, we also have to give them shelter. We have to clothe them, feed them, take them to hospital. Sometimes they stay for months, sometimes a year or 2 or more. And then we also have to find them accommodation when they are leaving, make sure they have a skill. Those who are not in school, we put in school. Those who are already adults, if they don't have a skill, we make sure they get a skill. And then we resettle them and their children, and then we follow up until we see they are okay. They are really okay, and they can now take care of themselves and their children before we close the case. Even then, there's still an opportunity to come back, just in case there's something. Okay, so yes. We have already looked at some of the questions with the first one. Let's look at the second case. How many more minutes do I have? I'm at the end of my slide. 5 minutes? Great. How did the victim feel about the second case, about her situation? The one who was thrown out. Yes, ma'am. She was devastated. She was distraught emotionally and everything. And then we've already talked about the help that they received. This woman now, before she came into the shelter, she had started building a little home somewhere. When she saves, maybe she felt that this will happen, When we discharged her, she started the soap making thing. She's now doing soap, Dettol, this and that and that. She has finished her little home, living in there with her daughter. Daughter is in school, and now she speaks about this situation in public. Okay, women are very resourceful, even with very little money. And then what would have happened to them if they had not had access to the informal and formal aspects of justice? What would have happened? What would have happened? Yes. What would have happened? Just lift your hand and tell me. Yes, ma'am, over there. And then over there, the last one over there. Okay. Yes, what would have happened?
In looking for solution, they may end up in worse situations from where they're coming
Yes. And it happens like that sometimes. From frying pan into fire. Can I hear from you, Is that Manuela? Yes. What else? What would have happened?
The education of the child would have been distracted.
Absolutely, yes. I saw another hand up here, and then the last one over there.
They would have lost all their rights.
Yes, in fact, it gets worse. Without help, it gets worse. And if you have a mental health issue also, you can imagine contemplating what? Suicide. Sometimes by the time they come in, they have thought about it several times to end it. Yes, ma'am.
The final of it all is the woman would have committed suicide.
Yes.
Because emotionally she'll be drained, psychologically she'll be drained.
Absolutely.
You know, emotional and psychological issues really have a toll down on women.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Please clap for all of you. You've done so well. So there are aspects of access to justice. That is not just about the courts and the police. Sometimes they don't even have that access because the evidence can be found. Sometimes, the docket will be lost, or sometimes, even when you go, the way they'll treat you, you don't even want to go back. So there are other aspects that you also have to fill in, like the psychosocial support, the psychological help, the shelter, the business support. Okay, you are looking at entrepreneurship and so on. In access to justice, if you don't look at that side, they'll go back to ground zero. So most of the times, we will either give you an educational skill if you are young, or if you are an adult, you must go with a business. No matter how small it is, start. And then you see them climbing up small. And then they are able to stand on their feet. So, yeah. Thank you so much. I would love for you to settle on the last question, okay? The last question for yourself. What can you do? Okay? So don't ask, what did that one do? Say, what can I do to also be of help and make a difference in the lives of women when it comes to their rights and access to justice and things like that? And also for children. So this is something for you to reflect on. Is there a last slide? Yeah, these are the things we have already talked about. Some of the things, I'll talk about some of these things in the afternoon session. So that's fine. God bless you.
Oh my. I thought you guys were going to stand up so that we can give a standing ovation to Dr. Angela, because really, come on. This is the essence of our entire discussion here. And I'll just ask a few people. Please, sorry, you can take your seat. Thank you very much. A few people, what you picked up from Dr. Angela's presentation, so that at least we know that we are sure that you're living here with something. So I'll come to you, ma'am. I'll come to you. Oh, okay.
I've learned that as a woman, there is support. So whenever you found yourself in a situation, you shouldn't give up. You should seek for help. That's it.
Round of applause, please.
Thank you. I also learned that no matter how much we educate and how much we reach out, there are still issues that go on. So we shouldn't get tired of educating, because Dr. Angela mentioned that despite her 25 years of service, she still comes across cases, and then every case is different. So we should approach everyone with specialty. We should treat every case special. We shouldn't get used to the trend and neglect cases when they come up.
I'm sure a lot more of us want to share. Okay, last person. Oh, all right.
Okay, so I've also learned that we ladies or women, we have rights. So in terms of those situations, we should just make good use of those rights. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Angela, are you okay with what we are taking out here? Okay, another round of applause, please. So our next speaker, I told you guys about her when we were about to begin. She's one phenomenal woman and somebody I've admired for a very long time. Her name is Hilary. Amesika Bedema. And she's a lawyer and a women's rights activist. In fact, she's been a member of the United Nations Committee for the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW for short, for the past 11 years and counting. Yeah, she's a heavyweight. And so without much ado, please give a round of applause to her as she takes the stage to talk to us about women empowerment and livelihood, her journey.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. So it is a great pleasure to be here with you today. And I already want to congratulate you for the very interactive way that the first session went with my dear friend Angela. So well done. And we will move to the next step. Angela, I must always mention, is a very good friend of mine. And what made for me our friendship unique was that after we had been friends for some time, my mother was speaking. She attended the Keta convent. And she was speaking about how cosmopolitan that convent was at that time. And that people came all over Ghana to attend the convent. Then she mentioned Mrs. Kufuor, and she mentioned Angela's mother. I said, mention the name again, because Angela had told me about. And I said, I know her daughter. And the next time I met Angela's mother, she's not an Ebe, but she spoke to me in Ebe. Amazing. So we go back a generation that we did not even know. And she's been very dear to me. Good. So today we will talk about my journey. And it is to ground what we have already done. We are taking it maybe from theory, if we may say so, to some kind of practice. And that practice may not be everybody's practice, but it is my journey. And in doing so, we will try to ground it in the theme of what we are here for. So it will not just be storytelling time, but storytelling grounded in the objectives of the gender policy that is the backdrop. So can we have the next slide, please? So the objectives of this engagement is to provide the participants, young women, with effective abilities to engage with policy actions at national and decentralized level. In other words, where you are, and creating awareness to empower you for access to opportunity and to reach your full potential. Already I was very impressed by the definitions you gave of women's empowerment. Spot on. Well done. And now let's look at how to use those in practice to move ourselves forward. Can we look at the next slide then? Next slide. So we will really be looking at what I'm going to say against the background of things you have already indicated: a safe and secure livelihoods, economic opportunities, linking back to the first slides from Mrs. Okran, and related matters. So the issue here is women's empowerment. Can we have the next slide? And the areas that have been identified in the strategic objectives are the areas of institutional support. For example, the women's machinery, education. You've spoken about that. Decent work. We don't only want work, but decent work. And Angela has spoken about how they've given decent work opportunities to those coming out of violence. And then the food agriculture part we saw in the beginning, and access to basic services. So I am to talk about my story. And we start from the beginning. You see me here. I'm supposed to tell you about how I got here with that background, how did I get here? This is the girl who has become the woman. This is me. So we are talking about our journey from here to here. Good. That's our assignment. So, of course, it begins with family. And we have spoken about dysfunctional families, what they do, especially to girls. And so I wanted it to be a bit conversational, and therefore we will be having a conversation. Can we have the next slide? Good. This is family. Now, here is my father. He died almost 50 years ago. And his nickname is, among us, is the man. So here is the man. And here is the woman, his wife, our mother. This is number 1, number 2. I am number 3. This is number 4, number 5. And this is our cousin who is named after our mother. So this journey began from 1953. So, in other words, I am 70 years old. I don't hide my age. And I think it is a very uninformed, if I have worse adjectives, but let's stay at uninformed, backward phenomenon for a woman to say a woman does not tell her age. God has blessed you. He's given you access to oxygen today. You will not say how old you are. But when it's testimony time in court, in the church, you'll be the first to run forward, forgetting that you have been blessed year after year after year. We are talking about 1953. So this year is my 71st year. And let me thank Angela and the group who threw a 70th birthday party for me. Yes. And it was a wonderful surprise when your friends can come together and say, we are throwing a party for you. And they gave me such the thought itself, birthday cake, food, everything, and wonderful gifts. Thank you again. Thank you. Good. And this is the sisterhood that we should be talking about, one to another. This is where we should support each other and grow together. And it's a very important part of our journey if we want to attain the strategic objectives that we talk about. Our education, health, employment, the sense of well-being. As someone said, the psychological is even more important than the physical. The sense of belonging, the sense of feeling loved, valued, is a very important step as we work with each other. And I'll be talking a little bit about this because it seems we sometimes undervalue this. So this is the biological family, and I've had other families as I have mentioned. So can we go to the next slide, please? So what are the impacts? What is it that the early years have done on this journey towards empowerment, towards being where I am today, towards being able to do what I have done today? My parents have had a direct and indirect influence on me. Can we go back to the previous slide? You see, this is why sometimes I said I want to do my own slides, because I'm always segueing between. Yes, the man was a police officer. In fact, he was regional commander for the Volta region. And he was the first African head, Ghanaian head of the CID. And that's why for a very long time you wouldn't see him in uniform. But I have a picture at home of him in the uniform. So this is law enforcement and detective work. Madam, a teacher. Strict teacher, convent trained. Hey! They are in a class of their own, the convent ladies. So, I often say that I'm the only one who blended my two parents' profession, in law enforcement and in teaching. And I think that one's position in the family matters. I am number 3. 2 boys this way, 2 girls this way. So naturally, if you look at it in the sense of gender, sex, I'm in the middle and I'm the odd one out. Yes. I need to negotiate and fight 2 boys this way. And I need to negotiate and fight 2 girls this way. I will not win those fights. You're fighting your elders and you're fighting boys. It's not a good show. I may have better luck in this direction. So you learn to be a negotiator. It involves some of the skills that you have. You learn to build alliances very early because you are kind of the odd one out. And people have said that my alliance building has made it such that I have been able to grab number 2 from number 1. Number 2 is closer to me than to number 1. You learn negotiation, people skills, and all those things early. You know that there are some battles you can never win. And it is a choice whether to fight those battles or not. And this goes throughout life, even in my UN years. I'm going to speak about battles, big battles that I had to fight. And big battles that I had to leave alone. It never ends. You have to pick your battles and look at the strategic reason why a battle must be fought. It is in our work. Yes. Sometimes we know this battle is a difficult one. We have been working with the Affirmative Action Bill for how many years? Going through the revolving door. Since 98. And it's a battle we are continuing to fight up till now. So when I've spoken about we can go to the next slide, please. When my father's term kind of was over with the CID, he was offered a job in Ho. So we moved from Accra to Ho. At first, I was thinking it would be a step down. Because we are talking about 1960. And we are moving from Accra to Ho. But let me say that the move to Ho has been one of the best things in my life. And I consider Ho home even more than where I originally came from. I have a lot of contact. I go to my hometown very regularly, but Ho has become home. To the extent that whenever I have little opportunity to get away from Accra, I'm happy to be in Ho, hiding in that old house. Yes, yes, exactly. So the move, and I think at that time of life also taught adaptability. How to see good in new circumstances that may not be very much respected. I'm talking about Ho in 1960. Let me tell you that even today, when you say you're from Ho, not to talk about even when I went to university, you Hillary, you this Ho, you like the Ho too much. You either cry, you still go Ho. I like the Ho. The adaptability, the seeing value, quality of life. Now it's called the Oxygen City. And when my friends come, they say the place is so nice. I say it has always been nice. So adapting, looking for value in what is not normally valued. And again, I will speak of it in terms of discrimination based on ethnicity. They see you come from certain places and they think that, this one, we may need to do a lot of work on her before she becomes fit for purpose. But the message I'm sending here is that one should not be daunted. You must not be daunted. Whether it's about the place you are working, the place you're going to school, you must see its value and take what is good out of it. When I was in legal practice, it was the same. And my senior, then lawyer Adzwe, he became Supreme Court judge. He used to call me by my Ghanaian name, Sika. Here in Ho, he would be speaking Ewe to me. We don't have the business opportunities they have in Accra, Accra lawyers have. So the only thing is that open your law books and be well grounded in your law. We may not have business, but we are good and we ought to be good in law. These are the things I'm talking about. Am I speaking to anyone in this room? Very good. So that is it. Do not despise your location. I found a new home, new connections, new perspectives on life, new values. I've never forgotten that experience. Can we go to the next one then? So now I'm looking at segments of our life, of my life. And the most important for me in the next slide is education. This should not be surprising because my mother's father was a teacher. My mother, a teacher. So there was no playing around issues of education. It was a given that you had to do it, you had to excel. In Accra, we were the pioneer students of Reed Church School, 1957-58. And there was where my leadership skills began. I remember a report I got which said Hillary likes organizing children. Right then, I could not tolerate disorganization. I would bring people together, let's play this game. You be this, you be this. Some people said, I'm bossy. But some people said, she's innovative. She's a leader. And I'm glad my mother believed the latter. She's a leader. You must lead or be able to lead at any age. When we came here, my mother started the first international school in the Volta region. Those who lived in Ho, I have my good friend, Alberto Noretti, who attended the school. Congratulations. And several other people, I will not name them here. It was an excellent school. It taught us to think outside the box, and I have never been satisfied with normality or moving with the stream. I'm always looking for how this can be done differently after having understood why it is done this way. I got the idea for my career formation there, from about Mauli School. Let's see the Maulians in the room. Oh, you don't seem convinced you are Maulians. You don't seem convinced. What? I'm a Maulian. I'm asking where are the Maulians. Some people are not sure whether to. Let's see the Maulians. If you don't want to be called, I'll keep your hand down. Oh, they're even standing. Please clap for them. Please have your seats. Head, heart, hand. Very good. And that's where the career formation started. But that is where also I started questioning gender and justice, because roles were very much segregated. I think they're better now, but I was incensed, having come from that kind of background, to see that girls were supposed to do certain things. Boys were supposed to do certain things. At a time, even the girls were washing the sports outfits of the boy sportsmen. You met that also. They'll collect these dirty, muddy, just sweaty. Did it happen to you also? It's still happening. Oh. You see, gender injustice for the male athletes. Meanwhile, the female athletes were washing their own clothes. And it was supposed to be seen as a duty. Two things. Number one, I was very tiny. Yes. Number two, because I think I was tiny and probably went to school a bit early, even though it wasn't earlier than my brothers. My parents recognized my vulnerability, and my clothes were picked up. Not only me, there were other girls whose clothes were picked up by the laundry in those days, washed and brought back to us. So when this washing thing was, of course I was angry. I'm not washing my own clothes. And now you want me to wash dirty clothes. Somebody else's sweaty, dirty clothes. Because he's a school athlete and he's bringing honor to the school. Oh, I didn't start this work today. I refused. I was going to be punished. I told my mother. She came to the house prefect. She said, if I had wanted my daughter to wash, she would be washing her own clothes. Laundry is picking it up and returning it. And now you are giving her something. This one she will not wash. So the matter was settled quietly. They will share the clothes, pass me without any, ceremony. And those who will wash, will wash. I was incensed. There were several other things. Some of them have not changed. Some of them have changed. But that is where that anger, that sense of outrage began in my life. Another thing about gender and justice I saw in secondary school was that we talk about discrimination and violence from teachers, from seniors, and so on. We do not talk about injustice between students, peers, peer-related justice. The way we scorn those from lower social backgrounds. And that is a phenomenon that I noticed then. Some people came from certain villages and they would move their villages up. You come from this village, you don't want to mention it, you say, I come from here. Recently, we were on the platform, somebody said, mention her hometown. I was just thinking, when we were in school, that was not your hometown. You see? The incivilities that occur, the financial dominance that occurs between girls, I think I am told, I will not confirm, I'll take that as well. It seems to be more than boys, because boys rough and tumble, not because it doesn't happen, but they have a way of dealing with it, in which girls, through their sensitivity, find maybe a little more difficult. And I think when we're looking about violence, we should be looking at this class-based violence also, especially in schools. Then there also, I formed very valuable networks. Some of them are still my mentors to today. And that was a relationship formed years ago. I've talked about the cliques, that's in the previous one, but the mentorship and the networks, many of them, especially among the seniors, those who were in Form 4, Form 5 when I came to Form 1, still remain, and they are still valuable in my journey, in empowerment as a woman, economically, and as a holistic person. Sports was another thing. I myself was a sports person. My race was the 200 flat or 200 relay. Race I really liked and did well in it. And I think that we now should continue to think about activity, physical activity. Because for a lot of us, we do not see the connection between that and health. I think I have not always, in the recent years, been too well. But I think I have a go at it, the energy, partly due to good physical activity in the early years. So it is something I'll recommend. Again, as I was telling somebody, sports teaches us something that we women are usually not taught. Sports teaches us, above everything else, teamwork, all the good things, it teaches us how to lose. And that is a valuable lesson in life. We don't know how to lose. We feel bitter when we lose. Hey, and she came and stole my husband. Oh, hey. How can your husband be stolen? Is it the money in your bag? Hey, and I'm going to deal with her. Hey, she will know that is not everybody's husband. You go around stealing. Hey. And some of them even are just boyfriends. And they're fighting. And you say, and thank you for that. Imagine. And they are fighting tooth and nail. They can't lose. If a human being, adult, has allowed himself to be stolen, just make sure he is safe. Go and tell his family that the nice man you gave me is missing. And it seems that Sister Ajwa is taking care of him. So you will hear from me in due course. That's all. Please clap. We can't lose. Hey? Loss is part of life. I will also speak about things that you also should not lose. But this one is voluntary, self-inflicted, self-motivated,